Alright, so now that we have our database class set up, now we're going to use it, and we're going to use it to get the posts and the categories from our database into our index page. Alright, so right now I'm in the index PHP page, and we've already created a database object just because in the last video we just wanted to test it. So we're going to leave this here, and what we want to do now is create our query. Okay, and we can put this into a variable called query. All right. We want to select all from posts. All right, so we'll start with that. It's just going to select all of our posts. And let me make sure that we are in PHP MyAdmin just so we can see what's going on. All right, so posts. And we have 2 posts in the table. All right, so we're going to select them all, and then we want to run the query. All right, so we're going to say posts is equal to db select, and then we're going to pass in our query. All right. You could just as well have put this select, you could put the actual query here, but I like to just put it in a variable and then pass it in. All right, so this should give us our results. So now we can use this post variable. All right, so down here, we want to first check and see if there are any posts. All right, so we'll do an if statement. All right, we're going to say if posts, then we're going to run all this down here, actually before the include. Yeah, we'll say PHP else PHP end if. All right, so if there aren't any posts, then let's just give them a message saying there are no posts yet. All right, so it's not going to pull in the info yet, but let's just see if we get any errors or anything. All right, so no errors, which is good. And since we're not seeing there are no posts yet, means that it's actually grabbing something. But now we need to actually insert it into our HTML. All right, so what we want to do is create a loop. All right, so we're going to say while. I'm going to use a while loop, and let's just end it down here. Actually, we'll end it here. Alright, so we can actually get rid of this because we only need, this is going to be a loop. So if there's 2 posts in the post table, it's going to spit this out twice. So we want to get rid of this one, this static. Alright, now first of all, let's get the title. Well, actually we have to put in our parameters for our while loop. Okay, so we're going to say row. I'm going to create a variable named row, and it's going to be equal to posts fetch underscore assoc. All right, so this is going to get an associative array with the results. Okay, so I'm going to replace the title with PHP echo row title. Okay, and then we want to end our PHP. Okay, so that's going to grab the title. So we can basically get any of these fields. All right, so let's do the body. Okay, we want to, let me just copy this right here. Okay, and I'm going to replace this body text Okay, so I'm going to replace that with our body row. Okay, and let's just test that out. Alright, so now it should be getting pulled from the database, and we can easily test that. Let's go to our database, and in the post table, we'll change the title here, International PHP Conference. Let's just change this to a 13 just to make sure that it's being pulled in. Alright, so now we see it's changed to 13. Alright, so let's just change that back. So everything's good. We're grabbing it from the database. Okay, now we just got to finish the dynamic parts of the page. Alright, so we're going to do the date. So we have the date right here. So let's just paste in or type in echo row date, and then here we want the author. Alright, so we'll check that out. Okay, so it's being pulled in, but you can see this date isn't very friendly. Alright, so what I want to do is create our first helper function, and we're going to call it format date, and it's going to make this date look a little better. Alright, so let's go ahead and open that. It's in our helpers, format helper, and we're just going to write a simple function here. I don't know why this keeps putting that function in when I type PHP. Alright, so let's do a little commenting here. Format the date. So function format underscore date. Actually, let's use camel case. And this is going to be past a date, and then we're simply going to return the date function. Okay, PHP has a date function, and the first parameter we can use to format it. All right, so I'm going to use FJY, comma GIA. All right, and this formatting you can easily find at the PHP.net website. And then the next one is going to be our date, but we're going to wrap it in the string to time function. So str to time. All right, and that should be all we need. So let's save that, and we want to make sure that we include this file. All right, so I'm just going to include it in the index file. Okay, so this is in helpers, and format helper. All right, so let's check that out. Oh, we didn't wrap the date in the actual in the index page. We need to wrap this date row in that function. Okay, so format date. Okay, so now you can see we have a much cleaner looking date. All right, and like I said, you can go to php.net and just search for the date function, and it'll give you a bunch of formatting options. All right, so I want to write another helper function for the body. This is the index page, so I don't want the entire body to be shown because it's just too much scrolling. All right, so we're going to write a function to shorten the text. All right, so let's go back to our format helper, And we're going to create another function. And we're going to call this Shorten Text. Okay, and we're going to pass in two parameters here. Of course, we need the text, and then we want the amount of characters. So I'm going to say chars equals, and I'm going to give it a default of 450. Okay, so if this isn't passed in, it's going to be 450. All right, so we're going to say text is equal to text. Okay, so we're going to just put a space after the text, and then we're going to say text equals substring text 0, and then the amount that we want, which is our chars variable. Right, and then we need to do text equals substring again, text str position, and then I'm going to explain this in a minute. I'm going to pass in text. Okay, and then text. And then we want to return text. All right, so this substring function, what this does is it returns part of a string, and it takes a few parameters. The first one is the actual text that we're passing into the function. The next one is the start position, all right, and we want this to start at the beginning, so 0, and then we have the length, which is going to be our chars variable. If they don't put in that parameter, it's going to be 450 by default. Then what we're doing is basically making it so the text doesn't get cut off in the middle of a word. All right, so we're using this again. We're using the string position function. And what that does, it finds the position of the first occurrence of a substring in a string. All right, so basically it's going to find where there's a space, because we know that that means that the word has ended if there's a space, and then we're basically going to stop it there, and then we're going to add on these 3 dots just to let the user know that they can click and it'll show more text. All right, so let's save that. And we got to go ahead and wrap that around the body. Okay, so right here we can say shorten text. All right, and I'm just gonna leave the chars as is. We could enter it here. We could say 500 here if we want. I'm just gonna leave it, and let's save it and check it out. All right, so something's not right. Oh, actually, this strpos function should be strrpos. There we go. So you can see now it's only showing 450 characters. All right, so we're almost done with this page. If we click read more, you can see that it goes to basically just the static post.php page. That's fine for now. The link is correct that it goes to. Actually, no, it's not. We have a static 1. Okay, so right here we have a static 1. We want this to be the ID of the current post of that current iteration. So I'm going to copy this here and just throw that in like this and change this title to ID. That way we get the ID for the post. And we want to URL encode this. So URL encode. Alright, so that'll basically make it safe for the URL. to keep put it in there. And I think this is pretty much done. Alright, let's save that and make sure the links go where they're supposed to. You can see in the bottom left there it goes to ID 1, and then this one, hover over, it goes to ID 2. Alright, so everything's correct. Alright, so now what I want to do is work on this sidebar over here. So we want the categories to actually pull the categories from the database, because right now this is just a static list. Alright, and then the about text I actually want to put inside of the config file so that it's easy to go ahead and change when the user wants to. Alright, so let's go ahead and the sidebar content is actually in our footer file. Alright, so if we go to includes footer, you can see we have that categories list as well as that about text. So let's go to the index page and just do a query to get the categories, which is going to be very simple to what we did with the posts. So I'm actually going to just copy this. Okay, except we want to select all from categories. Alright, and then we're going to assign the categories variable. Whoop. Alright, so that's going to select all the categories, and then this variable is going to be available to us in the footer file. We're actually, because we're including it down here, so this will be available to us. So let's save that, go to footer, and we are going to do a loop just like we did with the posts. Alright, so first we're going to check for the categories, so we'll say if categories and then down here I'll say PHP else, and if there's no categories we'll say there are no categories yet. Alright, now in here what we want to do is go inside the list. In this case it's an OL tag, and we're just going to do a loop, PHP while and we're only going to need one line because it's just going to repeat it. So we can PHP end while. Alright, and we can get rid of this. Okay, and then we can echo. Actually, we need to put our parameters here. So row is equal to categories fetch underscore assoc. Alright, and then here PHP echo row and we want the category, I believe it's name. Let's just double check. Categories, alright, yeah, name. Alright, let's just see if that works. Alright, so it looks like, let's see, we have news, events, tutorials, miscellaneous. Alright, so let's go ahead and change something here. Let's change events to, let's say PHP events. Alright, so that's being pulled in, which is good. That's what we want. So for the about, let's go ahead and copy this text and let's put it in our config file. Alright, so I'm going to define a variable, not a constant, because this can be changed. So we'll say about. Okay, we'll put that in there. Actually, let's make this site description. Whoops. Site description. Alright, and then we just want to paste that in the footer. We'll put it in the paragraph tags. Echo site description. Okay, save that. And there it is. Alright, so everything is now dynamic. So what I want to do now real quick is when we click on read more, we need it to go to that post. Alright, so for this one, if we click read more, it goes to the wrong page. It just goes to our static post.php. Alright, so let's open that post PHP up. Alright, so we just have a bunch of static text here. Okay, we're basically going to do the same thing that we just did with the posts page. Okay, so right here, we need to make sure we include all our files. Actually, you know what? Instead of doing this in every page, I'm going to cut this out and I'm going to put it in the header file so that it's automatically included with all our pages. So let's go to includes header and paste that in. Okay, so let's just make sure that it's working. Alright, class database not found on line 3. Oh, we're including. Oh, we cut the actual header out. Alright, let's go back to header. Where is it? I must have closed it. This here, header. I'm going to cut that out. Put that up here. Okay, so that should work. Alright. Alright, so let's go back to post. We can close header for now. Alright, and we're going to do our. Actually, let's go ahead and copy from the index page. Copy this. Alright, so we want to create a database object, and what we're going to do is change this query up. We're going to say select all from posts where I'm going to say where ID equals, and I'm going to concatenate a variable called ID, which we haven't created yet. Now this ID, we want it to be pulled from the URL. Okay, so post.php ID equals 1. Alright, we want to get this and insert it into our where statement. I'm sorry, our select statement in the where clause. Alright, and we can easily get this with the get superglobal variable. Alright, so right here, let's say ID is equal to get ID. Okay, so now it's going to get it from the URL, it's going to insert it in here, and then run query. We want to change this to post because we're only getting one post. Alright, we're going to leave the categories here because we're going to have the sidebar on this page as well. And then down here we can simply, we don't need to use a loop because it's only a single row. Alright, so you can just say PHP echo post title. Okay, and we'll do the rest. Actually, let me just copy from our index page, because we basically have the same format. Yeah, it's the same thing really, so let me just copy this. Paste that in there, and all I want to do is now change these row to post. Alright, so I think that's good. Let's go ahead and check this out. If we reload this, cannot use object type MySQL result as array. Alright, so I forgot to use the fetch assoc method. Alright, so we just want to add that on to our post variable, or post value. So we're just going to say fetch assoc. Okay, so if we reload, alright, so now we have this. Now this is obviously the full post, so we don't want this read more, and we also don't want to cut this paragraph using that shorten text function. So we're going to get rid of this shorten text and just put in the whole body. Alright, and then also we want to get rid of this read more. Alright, and that should do it. There we go. Alright, so let's make sure if we go back and go down to our second post, click read more. Alright, so now we're getting the correct post because it's getting it from this ID. So that's perfect. Alright, so we have one thing left to do, and that is the all posts page, which goes to posts.php. Right now it's all static text, and basically it's going to do the same thing that it does on the home page. It's going to give us a list of posts, but I want the option to say category equals 2. Alright, something like that, and then narrow the post down by category. Alright, so what we're going to do is open up posts.php, and I'm going to copy everything from our index page into posts.php. Alright, so if we save that and go to all posts, okay, so we have the same thing as the home page. I want to be able to click on these categories and have it filtered through the URL, and right now they're just going to posts.php. We want to add to that link. So let's go to footer.php where those categories are, and we're going to change this link to posts.php, and we're going to add on category equals, and then we want the ID of the category. So I'm going to copy this, paste it right here, and then change name to ID. Okay, so we'll save that. And now if we reload and we hover over categories, you can see in the top left, in the bottom left, it has the category ID. All right, so let's go to posts.php, and up here we're going to get that ID value. All right, so we will check URL for category. All right, so we'll say if is set get category. Okay, so this will get that value out of the URL. If that is set, then we're going to set category equal to get category. Okay, so now we can use this variable here. And if it's set, we want to change up our query to say select all from posts where category equals category. So let's take this one, this select all post query, and cut that. Okay, we're going to put that not there, we want an else. Okay, so if there is no category specified, we want to do what we've been doing, okay, which is just select all posts. If there is, then we want to change this query to select from posts where category is equal to category. Okay, so that should be it. If we save that and reload, undefined variable db. Well, we have to actually move this. We need to move that above those queries. Alright. Alright, so if we click on news, we get our 2 posts. If we click on events, there are no posts, tutorials, no posts, and miscellaneous, no posts. So let's go ahead and change one of those categories. Okay, so if we go to PHP MyAdmin, and let's go to our post table and change, we want to change the conference one, change the category to 2, alright, which is events. Now if we go and we click on news, we get 1 post. Click on events, we get our events post. Alright, so we finished all of the select queries for the front end. Alright, so now we'll start to get into the admin area where we can actually edit and add posts.